we talked about paradigms yesterday. And so remember, we talked about whose paradigm is correct, right? When we think about the way we like to do things, and then there's other people in our family and they do it a certain way, and we're like, don't really like that. I want to know if you had any shifts between yesterday and today. Were there any shifts in the way that you thought about some of the things that are on the screen, on whether it was correct or not, or did you, kind of change your thinking about how someone in your family does a thing? And so I'm wondering that because a lot of the things on the screen are things that you kind of deal with a little bit every day. When you talk about cleaning up, social media, your parenting, or what have you, money gets spent every day, you handle conflict. I'm just curious, feel free to throw it in the chat box if you had a shift, right, in some area, or did you see something different because of our conversation yesterday, and maybe how something was handled at home. So feel free to drop in the chat box if you had any shifts kind of changed for you. Yes. Oh, thank you, Cindy. Yes, kids wearing jackets was able to see their side. Thank you, Cindy. That's awesome. Right? It's like, even if we still make them wear the jacket, it's like, okay, I can understand where you're coming from. I love that. Thank you, Cindy. Yeah. Isn't it amazing how this happens every day, right? Like that little shift just gives us the opportunity to kind of hear where they're coming from. Thank you, Cindy. Anybody else? Maybe you had a shift, maybe you had a conversation, maybe you noticed yourself kind of pausing before you had some kind of response to something that was happening in your family. And again, it may be aligned with our conversation yesterday around paradigm shifts, like seeing someone else's side, or being able to have a change in the way we think so that we handle it differently. Just want to give a few more seconds. Going once, going twice, just so that I can keep moving. And if you throw it in the chat, I'll say something, but just want to give you space if you wanted to share a shift. Awesome. Cool. Well, consider, as you move on, like kind of that reflection, like how can you continue to just be aware of how you make decisions versus how your family might make decisions or other family members, and how you can hear where they're coming from or see where they're coming from. And maybe, be convinced that there might be a different way of doing things and I can respond differently as a result. All right, so that was one thing we talked about yesterday was paradigms, how we see the world, our mental map. The way we think about something is not the way other family members might think, right? We also played this game around family culture, right? So when we talk about these different areas of family culture, we talked about what area do we want to grow in. And so we talked about how everything is not always all the way on the left, right? We're not always this reactive family that's too busy for each other and kind of gets on each other's nerves, right? But we're also not all the way on the right. We're not always apologizing, we're not always respecting each other's needs. So we're just thinking about in this season that you're in right now, which of these 7 different lines that are aligned with all of the habits, right? All of the habits are listed on the right side. So be proactive, begin with the end in mind, put first things first, think win-win, seek first to understand, synergize, and sharpen the saw. When we think about those 7 habits, those areas that we want to get better at, and on the right side, which one do we want to focus on? As we kind of move into habit 2, we're going to think about, okay, well, what is the area that we want to make sure is a staple, it's a value, it's important, and that we put some intention on it with our family. So really consider what is the area that you want to just get better at? It's not that you don't do it at all, but you want this to kind of be a pillar for your family. All right. So if you already know, in the chat box, feel free to jump in there. Is it more apologizing? Is it, I want to make more time for my family? Is I want to respect others' needs? Yesterday, we talked a lot about safety being number 1, protecting our family and safety. We also talked about acceptance and love being a really big part of what we want to see our family have. Feel free to drop in the chat box. Is there anything on the right side that kind of stands out to you when you're thinking about, okay, this is an area that I want us to get some intention around. I want us to get better at this. Go ahead and drop in the chat box. What is it? Is it having clear purpose? Is it, I want to be better at making time for my family? Is it, I want to have more opportunities where we're valuing each other? Drop it in the chat box. Whatever you state will give me an opportunity to know as we move along how I can highlight some of the practices of those other habits. So feel free to think about what area on the right is something that you want to get a little better at, and drop it in the chat box. What area? Awesome. Thank you. Seek first to understand. Thank you, Lisa. That's a big one. How can we seek first to understand? How can we really listen to each other? Awesome. Anyone else want to share? What's something that we want to make intentional, something that we want to get better at as we're moving into having a more consistent family culture? And number two, synergize. Yeah. How can we learn from each other's strengths, right? Thinking win-win, right? How can we respect each other's needs? Thank you, Elizabeth. Being proactive. How can we remain calm, right? How can we stay calm and, apologize when things are not going the way that we thought it would go, and we did something that hurt someone. Awesome, love it. Thank you. And I'm sure you all are maybe processing or what have you, but just consider what is the area that we want to have some intention with. Okay, cool. So, the other part of yesterday is we talked about we want our family dynamic to be value based, right? And all of our habits have values connected to it. So consider, we talked about this kind of near the end yesterday. Consider when you're thinking about perhaps think win-win, what is the value that you want your family to kind of like take hold of? Maybe it's, hey, I want us to be able to be more considerate of each other. I want us to have a stronger level of trust with one another. If it's synergized, how can we be more humble with one another, right? What are some things on that side? So what sticks out to you? Is there any words that kind of stick out to you that align with maybe the habit you thought of? Or it just kind of popped out to you now, like, I didn't know what habit, but I saw that word and I'm like, yes, we definitely need to have more responsibility, in our family, more commitment in our family. Feel free to drop it in the chat box. What word sticks out to you? What principle, what value do you feel like kind of sticks out to you based on what you see here? Feel free to throw that in the chat box. Yeah, empathy. Thank you, Elizabeth. Empathy, that's a big one. Let's seek first to understand how can we have and exemplify more empathy. Look, and even empathy with ourselves, right? Sometimes we don't have as much patience with ourselves as we do others. Thank you, Lisa. My husband says, put first things first, right? How can we put first things first? How can we prioritize and not do all the things? It's a big one. Anyone else, feel free to share in the chat. What are some of those values that you see here that kind of, made you think about what you want to see? My daughter also says first things first. I'm a leader in these schools. I love it. First things first, balance. Yeah, sharpen the saw, that balance, that continuous improvement. Absolutely. Yeah, I wish we were doing first things first. That's actually one of my favorite ones. Do is first things first. It's really big about, how can we decide as a family what are our priorities in any given season, because our priorities change over time. So that's one of my favorites too. And sharpen the saw, good stuff. Respect. Thank you. Thank you, Nadika. Yes, respect. Love that. And mutual respect too, right? When it comes to seek first understand, it's really important that we have a mutual respect. And mutual respect means I can listen to you without having something to say. I can listen to you to truly understand where you're coming from because I respect you. Yeah, thank you, Linda. Trust. Yeah, trust is a big one. When we have great trust, it's easier for us to come up with solutions that work for both of us because we can kind of stay in the game. We can talk to each other, work with each other, work things out. I'm sure you could think about someone that you trust a lot. Hopefully it's someone in your family, right? That you trust a lot. And it's usually easier to make decisions with someone that you trust. You're not worried about their intent. You're not worried about their integrity. They tend to be someone that will follow through. When there's a lack of trust, because we behaved our ways into places to not be trusted, it's a little more difficult to make decisions. And we question integrity. We question what people will do. And so trust is a big factor that when it comes to trust, it's built over time, and it's our behavior that helps people decide how much and how willing they're able to extend trust to us. So that's a big one. It's built over time. And we already know, I'm sure all of us have experienced it being broken at some point. And when it's broken, it's harder to behave our way back into it. And so we want to do our best not to break it. Awesome. Thank you so much for sharing, you all. We're going to talk a lot about values today because we're going to work on a draft of our family mission statement. And hopefully if you have family members with you, and if you're just entering Our whole goal is to have a draft of our mission statement, and if we have family members with us, they can help us answer some of these questions together. And so by the end, I want you to be able to reflect on what it is that was great for you today, and what's one thing you'll do. If you haven't gotten an opportunity to do a mission statement today with your family, hopefully that'll be the one thing you take away. But let us know what's the one thing you will do, and what are your reflections from today as we move forward. All right. So habit 2. All right, begin with the end in mind. This is really about bringing vision and purpose to our families. We talked a lot about common purposes that families have. We talked about the challenges that they had yesterday. So now we're going to create vision. And so here's the thing. I don't know your family, clearly, but you know your family. And the nice thing about you knowing your family is you know whether or not you need to restore some things with your family. You know whether or not you've been intentional with some things with your family. And so with that being said, sometimes when we have had some difficulty with our family, whether it's our spouses, whether it's our children or what have you, it can be hard for us to think ourselves out of that. And so what habit 2 is about bringing vision and purpose. It's not about thinking about what's not possible. You get to think about what you actually desire your family dynamic to be. So if your family dynamic is not where you desire it to be, you get to kind of be a kid again and think about, well, what do I want? What is the vision I want for our family? And how can I be intentional about it and just, throw my inhibitions to the wind and say what I want, say what we want together collectively, so that we can start seeing it happen. So remember when we looked at that see, do, get yesterday, we're not going to get results if we don't believe that it's possible. So we are going to do a lot of envisioning what we want for our families, and we get to believe that that vision is possible. It's not happening right now, maybe, and that's not the point. It doesn't have to be happening right now. So I want to say that as a piece of encouragement. If we don't feel like we're getting some of the things that we want, this is the time that we can do that today. All right. So we're going to start out with this activity. So game phase is on. I have no prizes, but you get to play this game. So I want you in 30 seconds to find the numbers 1 through 54 in order. So find the 1, find the 2, find the 3, all the way through 54. And I want you to count as you find them in order. You got 30 seconds, go. Almost there. 10 seconds. And time. Throw in the chat box. What's the highest number? What did you get to? Tell us what you got to. Go ahead and draw the chat box. What number did you get to? Yes, we got 11. What else? Come on, throw some up. We got 2 or 5. What numbers did you get? All right, 6. Let's go. Where'd you get? I know we're out here. Where is the 2? Exactly. We're gonna find that out soon. We got 10. We got 6. We're gonna find out really soon, Rebecca. I got you. All right, cool. So we got some numbers out there. We got some 5s. Yeah. I wanna help you out this time because it's actually nice when we have a little. Oh, somebody got 45. Get it. Yeah. Nice. Well, Darren, you don't count. Okay, 4. All right, so we are going to do it again, but I'm going to give you some context, right? Because right now everything is scattered. But right now on the screen, you'll see some boxes. So I want you to follow each box and count. So every number will be in the next box. So 1 is in the first box, 2 is in the next box, 3 is in the next one. You come down 4, you'll see 5, 6. Follow that pattern and count up to 54, 30 seconds, and go. I said 50, I mean 30 seconds. Got 10 more seconds. 4, 3, 2. Time. How high did you get? I'm hoping you got higher. How high did you get this time? Let's see in the chat box. How high did you get? Woo! yes, 39, 54. Let's go, let's go. Love it. 36. Yes, yes. 40, 56, 51. I mean, 46, 51. Love it, love it, love it. So we all definitely did better. We all improved because we had something to help us. Why do you think you did better? We had something to help us, but what is it about what I gave you? What actually helped? What made you know that you could do better the second time around? Direction. Yes, come on, Elizabeth. Get us together, right? We got some direction, a pattern, right? We got a pattern, we got a sequence, we got a step by step, we got a yellow brick road out here. So with that being said, we are in habit 2. We're in this begin with end in mind, right? And so the end in mind is like, hey, we want to get to number 54. But if everything is all scattered, if everything is looking all over the place, this is sometimes what, our life and our family is set up. So many things are just happening everywhere. But we need some guidance. We need a path. We need to know where we're going. It doesn't mean we're going to get to 54, right? We make adjustments along the way. We get a little closer to 54 because we have a path and we're not just standing out here with everything in the clouds, right? And so we get to figure how we can set some intention even in the whirlwind. When we set our intention, when we actually start doing things, which is habit 3, it's a lot easier to do that because we got our intention set. We know where we're going, all right? Cool. So with that being said, when we talk about habit 2, on the left side, you'll see common paradigm. So this just means the common way we think. We don't have to shame ourselves for this. This is just the way we commonly think that, hey, we're going to go wherever life takes us, which is actually not a bad idea sometimes. So like, I think about the whole pandemic, we were just like, okay, I'm riding a roller coaster right now. We'll see what happens. And some of the common practices we have is that we just don't make any plans. We don't make any plans because it's like, ugh, it's kind of looking hopeless out here. Why bother making plans? Somebody's going to crash me down. Or we let other people dictate, what our agendas are and what we'll do. We're basically like living by default and not choosing. And again, this is not to shame ourselves. This is just to gauge where we think we may be right now. And is that working out for us the way we desire? And so the effective paradigm, or what could possibly help, bring us into some more effective results, is, knowing and believing we can define our purpose and values. We can define what success looks like. And then our practices would be planning with purpose. Okay, this is what we're going to do to be purposeful, and we're going to live by a family mission statement. And so we talked a little bit about planning to be purposeful when we're talking a little bit about the game we just played, right? It's easier to go down a path when we kind of know where we're going. We have a purpose, right? And so when it comes to living by a family mission statement, that's going to be the one we focus on today. That's going to be the practice we focus on the most, so that we can have a vision of where we want to go. And all of our choice making is going to line up with this vision with our family. So we already talked about the principles of effectiveness. That's having a vision, that's having purpose, and that's being committed to that vision, right? Some commitment. And it has to mean something to us. If we just put it on the wall and we just say we did it, like that one time in band camp, that one training we did that one time for MCPS, then we're not going to get the results that we want. But if we do it with meaning, with commitment, we get all of our family members a part of it, not just signing off on it, but really reading it and understanding what it is and knowing what that's going to look like for us, we're going to get higher impact. All right. So the biggest thing about habit 2 is that when we mentally create something, we are likely going to get the physical creation of that mental thing. So I want you to think about something that you wanted to eat. I am a foodie. I love food. I haven't eaten dinner yet, y'all, obviously. And so with that being said, I love food. And so I'm already thinking about what I want to eat. So I know you've been there before where you're like, imagine like, I'm going to go home and cook this, or I'm going to go to this restaurant, I'm going to go to this takeout, I'm going to get this. You're already salivating, right? And you're so hooked on this mental creation before you know it. You're in your car, you're going to the store, you're getting all the things you need to cook up this meal, or you're, calling the place to do your, DoorDash or whatever you're doing. Because anything that we actually create in our physical world happens because we think about it first. We visually think about it. Now, sometimes we're on autopilot, but the point is we've created a habit to think about doing a thing and we automatically do it. Right now, automatic mental creation or habit for us might be brushing our teeth. Or my hope is, that is what it is for us, right? Is brushing our teeth. It's already like we envision that as a part of our morning. It's automatic, right? And so when we want to create something new, we actually have to invest in time to give ourselves space to think about it so we can actually create what we want to see. And we haven't seen some results in our families right now because we haven't taken the time to visually think about it, to visually create it so that we can make plans to get it physically in our families. And so today is going to be a great time for us to really focus on this mental creation. That is what Habit 2 is about. Let's mentally think about, well, what is the vision for our family? What are the values? What do we see ourselves doing? What do we want to show up as? And this vision, this mission can change as we change and grow. It doesn't have to be something that's super concrete, but it will be for a season of time. All right. So we're going to have a little bit of activity. So I want you to think about planning with a purpose, right? So we're going to spend a lot more time on the mission statement, but I just want you to think about planning with a purpose. When you're thinking about planning your vacation, what could be some things you could do to begin with the end in mind? When you're thinking about your finances, what is something that you could do to begin with the end in mind? When you're thinking about your education or your child's education, what could you do to kind of plan with something purposeful in mind? So these are a whole bunch of different ways we can think about it, but I'm going to choose, well, let me know what you think. I'm thinking between vacation and finances. Which one do we want to play with? Throw it in the chat box. Vacation or finances? Which one do we want to play with? Because I think it's more fun to play with. Finances, yes. I was about to say, let's go money. Oh, we got some vacay people. Cool too. Finances and vacation. I know vacation is much more fun. That is so true. All right, we got a couple of vacations there. I knew finances is going to show up. But we're going to go ahead, and what I'm going to do, if you want to verbally process, because this is actually something we would do in breakout rooms, but again, you don't have to go to a breakout room because I know some people are not in a space where they can, but I'm going to open rooms for you to choose a room. And so if you want to go to a room, you can. And I'm going to label those rooms so that you know if it's finances or vacation. And I want you to think about, okay, like what I want to do to actually plan for a vacation. And then what is something that I would do if I wanted to plan? Like, how would I begin with the end in mind when it comes to finances? And this is just so we can get a little practice in it. Again, this is not, I am not the, what is it called? I'm not the breakout room police, but I realize I'm a verbal processor. So some of you might be verbal processors and you want to actually go into a room, and we'll only be in there for a few minutes, like about 3 minutes, so not long. But just to kind of talk about what it looks like. So you'll see some rooms, they're already open. It says vacay or finances. So if you want to go in that room and just kind of talk about, well, what does it look like to begin with the end in mind with when it comes to finances, then you would go to a finance room. If it's vacation, you go to a vacation room. If you're like, Des, I'm not in a place where I can go anywhere, you could definitely stay in here if you like, and you could throw it in the chat box. But I do want to give you an opportunity if you want to process in person and you want to talk it out, feel free to do that. So we do have someone in the finance room. If anybody wants to join, Royal in the finance room. Yep, thank you for those that want to go in there. And you don't have to, but if you do, feel free. And those folks will be in there so you can chat. And I'm going to give us about 3 minutes to do that. And we have somebody in the vacay room as well. Somebody in the vacay, somebody that's in the finance room. All right, thank you for joining them. So I'm going to close these other ones. Awesome. I'm going to move this person to the vacay room. All right, feel free to throw it in the chat. Yep, and feel free to throw it in the chat if you didn't, want to join a room because of whatever reason. No worries. Feel free to throw it in the chat. What would it look like to plan with purpose, beginning with the end in mind with finances or vacation? All right. Yes, Emma, thank you. I'm just seeing your message. Yeah, first finance, then vacation, right? If I was beginning with the end in mind, I would definitely be thinking about my money. And then it's like, okay, now we can plan this vacation, or at least know how much it's going to cost first, right? And then think about working our way backwards. All right, people are going to be coming back. All right. Yeah, Linda, I agree. Sometimes it is tough planning. Mhm. That's true. Everybody's not going to agree with a vacation because some people want to just be on a staycation. Yeah. Thank you. And welcome back. Welcome back, everyone. I hope you had a great conversation. Look, I'm like, time is flying. Time is flying. But thanks for taking that time to have a conversation. And the hope is that it just gives us some thoughts about when we're thinking about how we can be purposeful in some of our everyday things. And with that practice, we can be really purposeful of what our family mission is. And so, values, the beliefs and ideas that are most important to you and your family. So, this is really about what's important to you and your family. If you're on here solo dolo and your family wasn't able to, join you on here, I do encourage you to kind of take that back to your family so that all the values that you kind of think through today will be a part of the mission, but you also want to include the voices of others. And even when, you have small children, helping them understand what they're also saying they have a value in and giving them a chance. You'll be surprised at what kids will say and how that would go back about that. All right, cool. So this is an activity that we're going to actually kind of do on our own to give us some opportunities to reflect on your values and your family values. All right. So this is going to be a little more introspective. I want to give you about 4 minutes. And we're going to start at the beginning. This is on page 25. And so it starts off with what things are important to you. The second layer is what we do together. So it's going to help you think about things that you do together, and then how we respect other people. So it's kind of inside out. We're thinking about us, personally. We're going to us solo personally. Then we're going to think about us as a family, and then really how we show up in the world, show up in our communities. So I want to give you about 4 minutes to kind of reflect on these yourself. If you're unable to kind of get through everything, you can definitely finish it on your own. In the interest of time, if you feel a little like you don't want to be rushed as much, you can definitely start off with just the first layer and just focus on you, and then do the rest of your families. And that would be the direction I would go if you want to, take this with your family later. You could definitely just start off with that first row, or get as far as you can and do it all with your family as well. All right. So I'm gonna give you about 4 minutes because I want you to take some time to think for this. All right. All right. Thank you so much for doing this activity. I know when we have more time with our families, or hopefully you are with your family right now, you'll be able to spend even more time kind of fleshing it all out, because it's a couple of different things and we get a chance to process it. Feel free to come off mute. I would love to hear about 2 people real quickly because we're almost to the end. If you want to share, something that was really important to your family, or something that you found important to you, that you want to share out loud, feel free to come off mute.
Sorry. I think, sorry, when I was, I guess the commonalities, I was surprised, like things that I admire in others was coming up in things about our family. Like, we want, we like people that are kind, are humble, and so I guess that's sort of what we're trying to, like what we admire in others is what we're trying to instill in our family values, and kind of connect them together.
I love that. Thank you. Thank you so much for sharing. Awesome. And that tends to happen when we do personal mission statements. One activity that we do is who are people that have influenced our lives, and what are the qualities of those people? And so that makes a lot of sense, that the things, the similarities between your values and the people, how you respect others, or how things show up for other people. I love that. Anybody else? Let's take one more. Anybody else want to share?
Sorry, that's Elizabeth.
Thank you.
I guess these were all kind of, my husband had walked in the room and I'm like, hey, I'm doing this, hurry up, pick something. And then we have a special needs child in our family. So for us, one of the things that we want others to say about our family is that we are inclusive. We believe in a very inclusive, we don't discriminate about anybody. We don't care if you're a cat lover. We don't care if you're a dog lover. We don't care if you don't like animals, but we have fur everywhere, but it's mostly, we just want it to be where we're respectfully inclusive.
I love that. Thank you so much, Elizabeth. And thank you
Sure.
for snagging your husband. That's hilarious. I want to answer this question. I love it. Awesome. Thank you so much for sharing. And thank you all for taking the time to do this and spending some time if you have your family with you. And again, if you don't, no worries. You know, this can be something that you do. One thing that we actually talk about in the whole family, 7 Habits of Happy Family. What am I saying? Seven Habits for Highly Effective Families. Oh, you can be happy too. But one of the things we talk about is family traditions and creating family traditions. So maybe you have a time where you all sit together for a meal. Maybe you have a weekend or a night that you all do something together. So if you have a time that's natural where, you know, based on everyone's schedule, you're together, this might be a good time to do that, or have people do it on their own and come back during that time and share. So there's a lot of different ways you can do that to kind of get what you need to create this. And it doesn't have to happen overnight. Like everything doesn't have to happen tonight. We're just kind of giving it to you, and you have the book, right, to help foster other activities, but you want to get that kind of get that flow going. All right, cool. So in this video, it's really an inspirational video, but as you watch this video, I want you to think about, well, how does it inspire you to think about what your family stands for, right? What are some of the things that you feel like your family stands for? All right. So feel free to drop in the chat box. What are some words that might have come up for you that describe, you know, this experience for you as you were watching the video? Some of the questions were coming up. What kind of came up for you? If you don't mind sharing, feel free to share it in the chat box. Strength, thank you. What else came up for you or describes the experience you had? What talents would you nurture? Yes, love it. Inspiration, thank you. Bonding, love it. Yeah, understanding, thank you, Krishna. The others, worth, thank you. Respect, thank you. Taking a look at the big picture, yeah. Potential, absolutely. So again, this is giving you more content, more things to consider when you're thinking about what your family mission statement would look like. And so on the following page, on page 26 in your PDF guide, you'll see all these different examples of family mission statements. And consider, what do you like about some of them? What would you do differently? Because these can be mission statements that you can, mock or follow, so to speak. But then you can make it your own. Maybe you like, the work hard, play hard, love gently. It can be something very simple in a few statements. It can be a paragraph. It can be a page. It can just be words. You can take someone else's, poetry or phrases or quotes, and that can be what you believe your mission is. Thank you, Corinne. I see you think. Yeah, thank you. So whatever kind of inspires you, use that as kind of like your starting ground, right? Once you get all of these words in one place, all of these statements and thoughts and the things that you value, you want to figure out how we can put this together in a really creative way so that all the voices in your family are heard. And again, we want it to be meaningful to everyone. We understand what this means. And habit 3 is that put first things first. Once we know what we actually desire, it's easy for us to make some choices about priorities. So when we talk about work hard, play hard, love gently, we talk about work hard. Yeah, we go to places on time as a family. We take care of our responsibilities. When we say play hard, hey, we know when work is over. we enjoy each other's space. So you get what I mean. The do's, the actions that we take are easier to foster and to prioritize amongst all the things that we feel like we have to do when we know what our values are as a family. All right. So one way to also hone this in for you and that you can do is kind of like an extra credit situation. You can do a family collage. People do vision boards and things of that nature all the time. If you feel like that will kind of help you come up with something that is more visually pleasing and a way to be more interactive with your family. And it is a fun way to kind of have a visual. You could do a family collage or a family vision board for yourselves, and that can be something that you place along with next to, a really specific mission. But if you are a visual person, kinesthetic learner, all the things, and if you have, children and other family members that will want to partake in a more creative way, you can definitely use the family collage as a way to help you come up with a mission statement or to solidify, anchor yourself in a mission statement and have that somewhere posted in your home. All right. So families are off track a lot of the time, and that is okay, right? Because we are in a real world out here. The key is that we have a sense of destination and we keep coming back to that destination. So yes, we're going to fall off track. We're not going to love each other like we say we're going to love each other. Sometimes we're going to play way too hard and we're going to, work too hard. But when we get back to neutral, that's going to be our mission, or we need to shift our mission because there are things in our family that is shifting. And that's okay too. It's your mission. You can do whatever you want with it as times change, and they will change. So again, we come back to these reflections. What things in the chat box are you reflecting on? Like, what are some of your reflections from this section, from this habit? What did you really enjoy about this habit? What are some of your takeaways? What's the one thing you're going to do? So maybe you've already started crafting a piece of a mission, or maybe you're like, you know what, during Christmas break or during the holiday time, we're going to take some time while everybody is off, or most of us are off, and kind of come up with something. Tell me what your thoughts are. What's the one thing you do? What are some of your reflections from tonight? Feel free to drop all of that in the chat box, reflections, and what is the one thing you will do?